It's the offseason. We lost in 7 games to the Pelicans. Marc Gasol and Andre Iguodala have retired. Where do we go from here? First off, we need to address the Norman Powell and Marcus Smart situation. I've been thinking about it a lot, and I've decided that it is time for one of these guys to move on. While I feel Powell did do pretty well in Sim, he struggled in the games I played with him. He posed a higher trade value, and I feel like he doesn't have that same impact of Marcus Smart. We need a team that can win now. Paul George and Damian Lillard are both 32 years old. There are 3 players who I'm looking at who we can try to add on to this team. First is Raptors forward OG Anunoby. Anunoby is a great defender who can shoot pretty well as finish down low. He has been expanding his game recently to where he's done a better job creating his own shots. However, I don't know if the Raptors are in a situation to trade a young star, not without giving up more than what he's worth. I'm also not sure if OG is just a good enough player to take us over the top. Next is Jonathan Isaac. Standing 6'11", Isaac is a good dunker, an amazing defender who can guard the 3 through 5, and he is definitely someone that would have stopped Zion Williamson even better last season. Shooting wise, he is on the level of about Larry Nance Jr., but he can still do a bit more to create his own shot. But the same story as OG. With the Magic rebuilding, I don't know if they are ready to part ways with Isaac, and I don't know if he is enough to get us over the top. We also have been struggling offensively, not on defense, so I don't know if adding Isaac will solve our issues. So the man that I did decide to go with is the 29-year-old power forward from the Detroit Pistons, Jerami Grant. Grant did have a bit of a bad season last year, only scoring 18 points per game with a 28% 3-point percentage. Luckily, this drop in trade value does allow us to trade Powell and a few draft picks for him. Grant is a good scorer from all levels. He can create his own shot for a reliable 20 points per game. He can also defend the inside and outside pretty well, meaning I think he'll keep up the same production for us. The Pistons are also pretty deep into a rebuild, and with Grant being 29 years old, he's not exactly someone who's going to be a part of their new future with guys like Cade Cunningham. Someone like Norman Powell could be a great mentor for Cunningham, and someone who I think they could eventually trade him for 1 or 2 first-round picks. For us, Grant also only has a 1-year contract left on him, so if things don't work out this season, we can let him walk, which effectively gets Norman Powell's contract off the books for us. So we have who I hope is going to be our 3rd guy. But there's still a few more things to look at this offseason. First off, we re-signed Tony Snell to a minimum contract for the next 4 years. We also brought in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to be the backup 2 guard on a minimum deal. Now Marcus Smart is going to be our starting shooting guard. We also brought in Tyler Johnson. He's just going to be a 3rd string guard, and it's Tyler Johnson. He's basically average at everything, not too much to complain about with him. I also decided to sign Ersan Ilyasova once again on a minimum contract just because I wanted a tall guy who can shoot threes just in case we want to run some different lineup. The last dilemma we have is the one at the center position. It's been obvious that I've been having some problems with Nurkic, and given the fact that he was only putting up 10 points and 12 rebounds per game, I figured it was pretty easy to replace him with 2 minimum guys. So we went out and signed 2 new centers. First is Montresil Harrell. If you know me, you know that I am a pretty big fan of Harrell, and I think he's never really gotten his fair share in the NBA. But he is a good athletic finisher who can play some pretty solid defense. However, Harrell is only 6'7", so as a big man to come off the bench, we are bringing in the controversial center, Hassan Whiteside. Whiteside is a big body who can rebound and who I'm hoping is going to play some pretty solid defense to counter Harrell. Whiteside is also a really good screener who I think is going to play the same role that Jahlil Okafor did for us last season. And then one thing had changed. I made all the signings I wanted to, and I was about ready to actually finish up the offseason. Then I had noticed that Jusuf Nurkic was still in free agency with 0 offers. I also did have bird rights on Nurkic, meaning that I could go over the cap to sign him. And since there was no one else to make, I decided to take a chance on him, and I gave him a 2-year, $30 million deal. So that does mean that Montresil Harrell lost his chance to be a starter again. My bad. But this does mean that we now have a starting lineup of Damian Lillard, Marcus Smart, Paul George, Jerami Grant, and Jusuf Nurkic. This is an incredibly versatile lineup with multiple elite defenders, playmakers, shooters, finishers, and post scorers. Alright guys, that's it for the next one. Stay tuned for the next episode where we're going to go over the game plan and some of the expectations of these guys. I'll catch you all later.